Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you're watching us from. Welcome to today's episode of SEDAT HR Digest, brought to you by SEDAT Consult. SEDAT Consult is an HR firm with over 20 years of experience in the HR field in the areas of HR sourcing, performance management, learning and development, and other HR services. So if you're an organization and you need HR support or assistance, kindly contact SEDAT on 0244 629245 or visit www.sedatconsultlimited.com for assistance. So my name is Eugene and I'll be your host for today. So the topic for discussion today is HR as a business partner. So we all know HR's role has evolved over the years, shifting from being just an ordinary support function to being a strategic partner in organization. So today we'll be discussing how HR professionals can position themselves very well to embrace this new role of shifting from a support function or admin function to key strategic business partner in driving organizational success. So today I have a very important personality in our midst. He will be our guest. Before I introduce our guest, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our viewers. So kindly go to the chat box, type your name, and let me know where you are watching us from. Thank you. Okay, so I have Bernadette watching us from Tema. Okay, welcome, Bernadette. Okay, so our guest speaker for today has a very long profile because he's a great man. So he's in the person of Mr. Jeffrey Mac Boham, but I'll try to do a summary of his profile. So Jeffrey Mac Boham is a global learning and development, business, project management, equity, diversity and inclusion, and general HR management and development professional. His specializations are instructional design, project management, learning strategy advisory, AI integration into HR, and general human resource management and development. He is a principal consultant at Teampact Solution LLC, a boutique learning and performance consulting, training and development, HR advisory, and certification preparation company based in Columbia, Maryland district. He is also a consultant contractor for the US government. So Mr. Jeffrey has occupied quite a number of roles, so I will just speak about a few of them. So before he joined Teampact Solution, he worked as a senior performance management specialist consultant contractor at the U.S. Department of Labor, Sarah Space Corporation, a space exploration company, where he built training programs for the program managers who work on multi-million-dollar NASA program. So Jeffrey holds 3 master's degrees in business, HR management and development, and instructional design. He also holds PMI's SPHR and also PMP professional certifications, as well as SHRM SCP certification. So before Jeffrey relocated to the United States, he worked in the motherland. Yes, he worked in the Parliament of Ghana as Legislative Research Officer. So in Jeffrey's personal life, he's passionate about soccer, exploring transformative professional potential of HR, the AI in HR, and also likes engaging in public speaking, as a Toastmaster, Jeffrey also loves spending time with his daughter. So without wasting much time, I will hand over the baton to Mr. Jeffrey Boham. Mr. Boham, before we start, I remember we discussing something of you surprising someone today. So the floor is yours. Maybe you can do that before we go into today's business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eugene, and thank you for the opportunity. Now, the person I want to really surprise is my sister. Well, there are two people. You know, my sister just recently, she's actually watching. She doesn't know that I set this up this way, but my sister recently celebrated her birthday, and I couldn't really reach out to her and wish her happy birthday. So I want to take this opportunity to publicly wish her happy birthday. Her name is Lucy, and she was named after my mom. I definitely want to say happy birthday, sis. And to a certain special lady also whose birthday is coming. She's watching us all the way from Rwanda. And I also want to say happy birthday that's coming up in the next week or so. So those are the two people. And thank you very much, Mr. Eugene, for giving me the opportunity to first and foremost say, happy birthdays to these two great ladies, and also to actually speak with you today.
Thank you. And then my wishes goes to the celebrant as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, Mr. Boham, so with your permission, I would like to delve into today's discussion.
The questions are coming already.
Yeah, the questions are coming already. So my first question will be on the transition. So how can HR transition from being the support function to a strategic business partner?
Can you reframe the question? I want to really understand it properly.
Okay. So we are all saying initially HR was into just an admin. HR was just an admin function, playing a support role. So now there is a shift. So I want to understand how can HR transition from that support function to a strategic business partner?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that question. I think that's a very important question. We all know how HR has evolved over the years. HR in the past was called personnel management, where people just manage employee files and things like that. But the role and value contribution of HR has been changing over the years. And for HR to fully transition, I think the first thing that needs to happen is a complete shift in mindset. I mean, I am an HR person. I attend HR functions. And it's interesting, when you are meeting with HR people, they tend to be the fun, bubbly type. Okay. But when I'm also a business person, when you're talking to business people, sometimes they want to get the business done before the fun. But HR is always, oh, you know what? Let's go. It's about the people, man. We're people. No, you have to start showing your value contributions. You have to demonstrate how HR's influence, alignment, and impact actually makes or adds dollars to the company. So that transition that really should be happening. I think the key part, like I said, really has to do with mindset. We have to change the way we think. That's number one. And we have to look for ways and means that we can actually contribute true value to the organization. There's so many ways we can do that. Some would be by, utilizing technology. Like artificial intelligence is actually making a lot of mundane roles quite redundant. We have to invest heavily in that. We have to start getting ourselves very acquainted with those tools and limiting, the time that we spend just typing stuff and things like that. Let ChatGPT and the rest do those things. But let's focus more on the functions that really add direct value in terms of innovation, in terms of strategies, in terms of alignment and things like that. So that's how I would answer this question. I think the starting point is we need to stop thinking that we only support the business to actually start thinking like we own the business. Okay, we own the business from the people side of the equation. That's how that shift has to happen.
Great. That's a good one. Thanks for the answer. So my next question will be on, so now that we are shifting, do HR professionals need some special skill to align themselves with the business objectives? If yes, what are some of the skills that HR professionals require to achieve that?
Very, very, very good question, Mr. Eugene. You know, you use the word shift. Shift means that we're moving from one point to another. So definitely something has to change. First and foremost, the world itself is shifting. We're moving more from a traditional world to a more digitized world. Okay. So with HR shifting from a more traditional HR role to much of a, I would say, value contributor, much of a strategic role, I think we're talking today about HR business partnerships. There's a reason why we have all those three words in there. You are an HR person, but if you want to be a solid business partner, it means you have to understand business. Okay, first and foremost, understand business from the point of view of having an understanding of business itself. Okay, and how business is done, having business acumen. Okay, but we also have to understand business and our value contribution from several different angles. For example, HR people need to understand the marketplace dynamics, those things that really make a difference in the market in which their companies really operate. And I'll give an example when I finish this. HR needs to understand operations. HR needs to know specifically how the company that HR supports makes money, how that company really brings dollars and cents or cities and other value contributions into the business. And HR also has to understand how the people in the company can be properly aligned and integrated into the business in such a way that the people or the human capital will add greater value to the business. So you see, I'm speaking as a strategic HR person. I'm not just saying, let's go change employee files, let's go do something. What I mean here is that when I say HR needs to really understand the business, let me give an example. Let's say you are an HR person, okay? Let's say whoever is watching this, let's say you're an HR person who works for a company that does fish farming. Today I was talking to a friend about fish farming. So you're working with a company that does fish farming, okay? You shouldn't just think about HR in terms of bringing people into the company to farm fish. You want to really understand how the fish farming industry operates, the type of people that tend to be successful in the fish farming industry, the type of employees that people need during specific seasons within the fish farming. So you have to have an understanding of the marketplace dynamics. That's number one. Number two, you have to understand the operations. If your company, let's say, exports fish, okay, what are the dynamics that take place for a fish to move from Bando to, let's say, Kentucky, from fish to move from Bando to, let's say, Frankfurt, Germany, for fish to move from Kumasi to Rwanda, okay? So you have to understand the marketplace dynamics, you have to understand the operations, and then you have to understand how you can bring people into. Remember, something that HR does is HR brings people into the company, aligns them with specific roles within the company, grows them within the company, and HR helps people to get out of the company. It's called outplacement services. Even when people, one of the reasons why in our part of the world, one of the reasons why people don't want to leave companies is they don't know what they are going to do when they leave the companies. So you have somebody who's 78 years telling you they are 27 years. You get what I mean? Why does that happen? Because we don't have good outplacement services. So HR has to learn the way that they're going to bring people who does well in the company. HR has to be data driven. HR has to look at the metrics. Which types of people, which people historically have worked well for this farm? Okay, did we have people from KNUST? Did we have people from Ashesi University? Did we have people from the University of South Africa? Where do we get the type of people that make our business successful? When HR goes to the boardroom, HR needs to articulate some of these things. Okay. And these are the things that will make the business leaders understand that HR really understands the business of the business, and HR needs to understand the marketplace dynamics and the operations. I hope I'm making sense.
Oh, yes, yes, you are on point.
Yeah, because I know
Certainly.
quite a number of people are pretty new entrants into the HR field. So I
Yeah,
want to be sure that I'm explaining it as simplistically as possible, just so everybody can get something out of this.
yeah, sure. Thank you. So, viewers, along the line, if you have any question, you can drop it in the chat box. At the right time, I'll read it out loud for Mr. Boham to address these questions. Thank you, Mr. Boham. So, as HR professionals, we need to also understand the business. It is very important for us to serve businesses very well. We need to have an idea how things are being done over there. That's a good one there. Thank you.
Now,
So,
let me
Mr. Boham,
articulate something. You used the
okay.
phrase, you said, we have to serve the business. Yes, we have to serve the business, but we also have to lead the business when it comes to the people part of the equation. Okay.
Okay.
When you
Yeah.
look at CEOs, heads of organizations, they think in buckets. Okay, they think in buckets. They generally want to either be the market leader in the product that they're selling. They need to lead in the area of operational excellence, and they want to also lead in the area of customer intimacy and people performance support issues. So when it comes to the people side of the equation, HR must be the one actually telling them what to do, because they are not experts when it comes to people management. And the reason why I asked to say this is that we go in with a servant mentality, which is great. It's important. When it comes to the business, it's okay. Let's go support them. We are not finance people. But when it comes to the people side of the equation, they expect leadership from us. Okay. And when they don't get the leadership from us, guess what happens? They tune us off. They'll say, whenever they're layoffs, they're like, HR needs to go. They don't add any value because we don't articulate the value. And it's unfortunate, but you know, it's called introspection. We have to be the ones looking at ourselves critically and saying, this is where we add value. This is why we don't add value. Let's make adjustments and let's be more of a value contributor from an HR point of view. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Boham. That's a great one. So I think in response to your question, you made mention of the boardroom. So I think that brings me to my next question. So HR also need a seat at the boardroom. So what strategies should HR adopt to make that happen?
So I'm talking to an HR person, and you say HR needs a seat.
We.
No, what I mean, you say HR needs a seat. So you are telling me that you don't expect a seat allocated to HR. Now, we need a seat now, or we should have a seat. Nobody says the CEO needs a seat. We already know the CEO has a seat. So why does HR doesn't have a seat? What is it that we need to do differently from what we're doing now? And we have to take a critical look at ourselves and say, what do we need to change? Okay. And remember, the first thing I said was, let's shift our mindsets. You know, there's a quote that I had. It says, you should be so good that even if your presence is not recognized, your absence should be felt. So the board or the boardroom should say, wait, we need HR. That is when you know that HR is truly adding value. Because if they don't see your seat and they don't advocate for a seat for you, then they don't see the value you're bringing on board. But let's get into the details of what HR needs to do. Since you're saying that, let's get into the details of what HR needs to do. The first thing I said, which I said earlier, HR needs to change its mindset. Okay. And HR needs to stop being I call them the goody people at work. Hi, good morning. How are you? You know, people go into companies to make money. It's nice to create friends in the company. It's nice to manage the emotional components of the business. But it's very, very important for people to see HR as people who are there to do serious business. it's important for people to see HR as people who, without them, the business will not succeed. Because think about it, every business function can be purchased and replicated. HR is that business function that is very difficult to replicate. If I have person A doing so good in this company, it's difficult to replace that person easily with a robot, unless it's a mundane task. So, first and foremost, I think in addition to the general traditional HR things that we do, it's important that we understand how to align our business metrics. Okay, we have to be able to align our business metrics to, I would say, the organizational business support metrics. So, for example, HR has a general metric that we use. It's called like turnover ratios, yield ratios, and things like that. You don't mention those things, or you don't utilize those things in your silo. There's a process called silo busting. You have to ask yourself, for example, let's go back to this fish farming situation. Okay, if we know that between the months of July and September, we're going to need more people, we don't want the company to come in and ask us, we've short people, we need more people. When the company starts doing that, it means we're not doing our jobs right. So we as HR need to really understand the dynamics, the ebbs and flows, the transitions, the trends of the business, okay? And we need to know that year over year, between June and August, we are going to need to hire 20 more people. Now, we also have to look at data and ask ourselves, 10 years ago, we picked people from XYZ university. It didn't really work for us. 9 years ago, we picked people from this university. We brought them back in, and they were actually working for us. So you go back to those areas, you use those techniques and metrics that have worked to make the people more efficient, and therefore the company more efficient. We have to look at HR metrics. And a key metric that most of the time people forget is employee engagement. Okay, when we talk about employee engagement, what are we talking about? We are talking about people who see themselves as a part of the business. There's something called quiet quitting. You have a lot of people who go to work just to read the newspapers. You have a lot of people who go to work, they sit behind their computer all day. You know what they're doing? They are browsing and checking which teams are playing. You know? So what you want to do is HR has to change the mindset of the employee. HR has to help the employee start thinking as a business owner. You have to incentivize people who attach themselves and engage in the business. For example, you have two employees. One comes in and quite quits and doesn't really do anything. You have to measure productivity. You have to openly reward the person that's actually bringing value to the company. To me, when a person becomes engaged, you know what signs that you see about a person? There are those people who start going to work on Sundays because they have something that they should have finished last week. But that person who cuts off work at 5 o'clock, okay, and doesn't touch anything till they have to show up at 8 o'clock on Monday. Those people, some do it based on principle, and let's give them a pass for that. But there are people who may not be that engaged. They're only going in for their monies, their checks. So what are we going to do from an HR point of view to make the employees more engaged? How are we going to measure the metrics? What are we going to do? You see, we have to make sure that we are taking all these HR, I would say, ratios, HR data measurement metrics, and attaching and aligning them with the business and operational support metrics in such a way that what HR does cascades and helps to impact the business and grows the business. I hope that is helping too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. I think this was a question everyone was expecting an answer like this. So I believed every HR professional here has taken their lessons from this, and I think going forward things will change. Okay, thank you, Mr. Boham. So my next question will be on how HR can contribute to measurable business outcomes like profitability, growth, and also customer satisfaction if it's a service business. How can HR contribute to?
Yeah.
So how can HR contribute to this business outcomes?
Yes, I think what I said, even though it was long-winded, earlier on, it kind of connected to that. What I mean is, everything that we've been saying so far, everything that I've been talking about so far, it's like a cross pollination of things that HR can do to actually make these things work. So if HR understands the business, if HR understands the marketplace dynamics, if HR really understands how the business takes off, if HR understands how the company makes profits, okay, what HR needs to do, like I said, is align its, I'll say, functional HR metrics to make a positive impact on those business metrics. So if you know that, let me give an example. HR people need to understand, for example, that companies start doing extremely well if their employee engagement score goes above 70%. So HR should be measuring those engagement scores. Okay. Let's say if the company's engagement score is currently at 50% and the company is operating maybe at 75% efficiency, HR needs to look for ways and means to make the employee engagement score move from 50% to 70% or above, which will impact the business engagement and business profitability rates to move from one point to a higher point. The point I'm trying to make is HR needs to really establish all these things through alignment. Now, there's one thing that I may have slipped on the first time, and I think it's important that I mention, which is that, I come to Ghana quite a bit. I just recently came from Ghana. One of the things that when I talk to a lot of HR executives in Ghana, one of the things that I generally see is we complain. We complain a lot. What we in HR complain about, the CEOs don't care about HR. No, the CEOs, because they hired us or because there's so many people, they don't really pay attention to HR. I want to start making this mind shift here. HR doesn't pay attention to CEOs. Are we coaching our CEOs? Are we sitting with them? Are we explaining to them how HR adds value? So you see, I understand that we can make excuses, we can complain, but what are we doing about it? Do we tell our CEO, we need to talk to you? We need to explain to you step by step how everything we do adds to the bottom line. How these investments that we want you to do today will make an impact, not just to the business, but to the business growth, to the business long-term success and things like that. So really, when we talk about being an HR business partner, okay, you have to be fluid. We have to really kind of influence every aspect of the HR role, and we have to influence every aspect of the operational and business role down to the executives. The people who cut us off, we have to let them know that this is why you need me. Okay. Let me use an analogy. You can be a parent who punishes your kids, but if you explain to them why you are being stern to them in certain areas and why you are nice to them in other areas, you let them know that you have more experience in life, and therefore, if they do ABC this way, don't take it wrongly. Even though I'm your dad, even though I'm your mom, I have to straighten you up in these areas. When people justify the why, there was a teacher that I really love when I went to SEDAT College. Okay, he would punish me and he would tell you, Mr. Boham, this is why I'm punishing you. I want you to change in these areas, and I will go and change in those areas. And up to today, I credit him for really building me up. You get what I mean? So the point I'm trying to make is HR needs to get the ear of the CEOs, and HR really needs to sit with these guys and articulate to them the value that HR brings. Don't say they've shut their minds. You are not talking to them. You are just doing stuff and expecting them to see when they were not trained HR people. So those are some things that I think we can do to be more strategically aligned as a business partner to the organization.
That's great. Thanks so much, Mr. Boham.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure other CEOs are also watching us. They should also give HR the opportunity to also talk to them, because sometimes it becomes very difficult.
Let me tell HR people what to do. Sometimes when I'm just talking to the HR folks who have difficult CEOs. Sometimes when your CEOs want to keep you under wraps and they don't want the world to see, go to conferences, speak. Let other companies start wanting to poach you away from them. Now they start paying attention to you. Okay. It's like, it's the truth. I mean, if let's say I work for a small company, okay, and I win an award, and the award was given to me by a bigger bank in Germany that says, and I show my HR boss and say, this company in Germany really wants to bring me. Okay, guess what's going to happen? They'll say, no, I don't want you to leave. I'm going to increase your pay, number one. Next time when I say anything at all, they're going to believe in you because they know you are valuable even beyond the organization. So they know you are a good catch and they got to keep you. So the point I'm trying to establish is sometimes they don't pay attention to us because they don't see us truly articulate our value. And we have to articulate our value beyond the workplace. Okay, I know people in Ghana. I know HR people in Ghana. People tell you it's difficult in Ghana. But I was chatting with a friend yesterday. There are people in Ghana who make American dollars every day. I know a lady, okay, I can't mention the name. That lady, she's been making over $200,000 in Ghana every year. And she's in HR. And people say HR in Ghana doesn't pay. You know why? Because companies on Wall Street want her. Companies in Germany want her. Companies in Australia want her. So her company always gives her more money. They're like, you are not going anywhere. So the Ghanaian companies will treat you well. They will pay you if you demonstrate your value beyond their borders. That's basically what it is.
That's nice. Thanks so much for the advice. I believe the HR professionals have taken this.
It's like your wife going to win Miss Ghana. I feel you're quite sorry on the back. That's the point. But she has to win Miss Ghana first.
Yeah,
that's exactly the kind of thing. So it's a psychological, thing that we really need to get into. We're sitting home and hoping that they will pay attention to us, but I think we have to justify our value across board, not just within our company. They should be stopping you from African Union asking you for a conference. They should be stopping you from Australians asking for you to come and speak at a conference. You know what I mean? That's where the money comes.
True. That's very true. That's a good one. Okay. So viewers, I believe you are observing and also taking notes. We want to hear from you. So if you have questions or anything that you are not sure of, you can just drop it in the chat box. I will read it for Mr. Boham to answer. Okay, Mr. Boham, I have another question for you. So what are the common challenges HR faces in becoming a true business partner? And how can we overcome these challenges?
I think, and this is me being opinionated, I'm not just going to go with what the books say. In Africa, I think the biggest challenge is mindset. And I talked about this earlier. Okay. Yeah. I think because of demand and supply, because we have, for each job, you have thousands and thousands of people applying. Okay. The HR managers and the CEOs and things, they feel that people are replaceable. And the point that I'm saying, and how to overcome things like that, is to justify that you're irreplaceable. If you go to company A and they become the market leader, okay, and you ask for more money, and your company doesn't want to pay you, and you go to company B and they become the market leader, and you go to company C and they become the market leader, okay, now when you tell company C that you're moving to company D, they'll say, you're not going anywhere. We're going to pay you more. We're sorry. Okay, so I always say you want to be the Abedi Pele on your team. You want to be that person who is irreplaceable. When the person comes even late for the game, they will say, give me the armband, and then we'll go play. That's really what it is. Now, some of the common challenges, the first thing is the mindset. We have to change our mindset. We also have to demonstrate and articulate how we add value. We have to work with the executives for them to see how we add value. We have to change their mindset. Okay, we have to kind of fizzle out functions that don't really add value. If we have to utilize technology. We have to do more with less. Okay, if we have to step away from just utilizing people to utilizing robots in certain spaces and domains, we can do all of that. What we have to do at the end of the day, like I said, is we really have to make an impact, and we have to articulate how we did that impact, showing that line of sight from the beginning to the end. This is what we did January, this is what we did February, March, April, and this is how it resulted in business growth in December. Once we're articulating that, once we're changing the mindset, everything else will fall in place, and we will be able to truly shift that mindset and make an impact.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Boham.
Yes, Your Honor.
Our viewers, I'm not getting a vibe. I think I've seen some of them complaining that they are having technical challenges joining in. I'm sure in due course you have some of them joining. So we can go ahead. So I have another question for you, Mr. Boham.
Absolutely.
So it's about technology.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you see technology shaping the role of HR as a business partner in the future?
Well, you are asking about how technology is going to impact HR in the future.
Yeah.
But the future is already here. So I want us to focus on the now. I was in Ghana recently to be at a conference, the Global Conference on Human Resources in Africa. I was in Ghana recently. And let me share a statistic with you to tell you how far beyond we are. Okay. I saw, and I've forgotten, I've forgotten the name. It starts with R. I forgot the statistic that I saw. When we talk about global adoption of artificial intelligence in HR continentally, okay, North America has a 28% adoption rate. Okay, Europe has a 24% adoption rate. Asia has a 20 or something percent adoption rate. Okay. Latin America, Middle East, and Africa combined has a 9% adoption rate. So let us split that into three. Let's give Africa 1/3, even though there's a likelihood that some of the continents might be bigger than others. So if you are talking about global adoption of artificial intelligence into HR in Africa, that is 3% of the world's impact. There are 54 countries in Africa. How are we going to share that 3%? So, I mean, we talk about AI. Are we really using it? Are we really leveraging it to reduce mundane rules? And so you talk to some people about AI, they will tell you, well, I don't think that's going to happen to Africa maybe in my lifetime. And they are likely telling the truth. But AI is coming faster than we think. Okay, it's replacing people very quickly. When you come to this part of the world, people are telling you right away. I mean, you go to restaurants and robots serve you. So even if you serve food in Ghana, right now the computers are taking over. I have a friend who is a certified ethical hacker. Look at this position. He's a certified ethical hacker. These people make a lot of money in Columbus, Ohio. Okay. Now, this person told me recently he's moved into building a business in trucking. You know why? They introduced a new AI tool that does the work that he does in about 5 hours in 2 minutes. So he said, Jeffrey, we are out. And this is a certified ethical hacker, one of the best certifications to have. So artificial intelligence is coming, and it's coming fast. When I was in Ghana, I remember people used to go to secretarial schools. Even being able to type on a laptop was considered a beautiful skill for people to have. These days, you have, 6-7-year-old kids who have laptops, and they'll tell you that's an old one. So what I'm telling you, what I'm trying to establish very quickly, I'm trying to remind people that technology is taking over very quickly, and particularly artificial intelligence. So we have to get on board. But let's not get on board in a scary way. Let's get on board by embracing it and utilizing it to reduce the time frame that is used to make HR efficient, okay, with regards to mundane tasks, and free up bandwidth and space for HR to be more innovative and come up with creative approaches. How many people really understand, okay, even just something as simple as technology literacy? I mean, you hear people talking about Chat GPT. A lot of people don't understand what it is. They're just talking about it. Suddenly, Matthew is that thing is all over the place. What is Chat? If I ask people, what does Chat GPT mean? A lot of people cannot tell you, but they tell you I use it every day. You know what I mean? I don't want to ask you that. What it is that some of these things, when we hear these terminology, what we want to do is just Google it and read about how it works. Read about artificial intelligence. What is it all about? How does it work? What's the layout of it? How do some of these things work? When we start leveraging these technological efficiencies, and we HR, we have a role. The role we have to do is we have to be early adopters, and we have to be the ones educating the rest of the company, the rest of the organization. This is what Chat GPT is. By the way, GPT is generative. If you understand what generative AI is, GPT means generative pre-trained transformer. So the Chat GPT, people think Chat GPT is the tool, but the action of chatting with the GPT is what makes it Chat GPT. So the point I'm trying to establish is this is not complicated. It's online. We can go online. We can go to Google certificates. These are free courses. Instead of buying data to show our faces and show our lipsticks on social media, okay, why don't we buy the same data and go to IBM Skills Build and learn what artificial intelligence is all about, so that as HR professionals, we can hold a seminar. We can get a company to give us a few thousand cedis to hold a seminar and teach the company. If we are replicating knowledge, we'll make money out of it. So there's so many ways that technology can be leveraged. You can even ask ChatGPT. You tell ChatGPT the type of business that you do and say, give me ideas as to how I can leverage you to make my company more successful. You know what I mean? Then at the end of the day, ChatGPT will even guide you to build that. I see a question being posted.
Yes. So I'll read them. So should I go ahead?
Yeah, I see Nana Setofia. She just posted something.
Yes.
Can you read it for me?
Yes. We have some other questions that came in earlier.
Okay.
So let me read the question for you. But before that, let me also acknowledge the presence of some people here.
That's all.
So we have Akosia Dankwa also watching us, and we have Happy watching us from Tema.
Happy Anochi.
No, this is Happy Anochi Sapon, yes. She's
Tell her I
watching
said
us
hi, I know her.
And we also have Inshiraba watching us from Ashoman. We have Zakaria watching us from Kumasi, and also Emmanuel watching us from Kaswa, Kaslan City.
We're all over the place.
Yes, we have Mavis watching us all the way from Techiman. And then we also have Lauricia YD Asari watching us from Kumasi. And we have Drago Asantua. So she's in Ghana. She wasn't specific about the location, but she's in Ghana. And Gordon Kusi Vija.
Gordon is my buddy Rao.
Oh, okay.
So Gordon, hey, what's up, bro?
Yeah. I think Gordon has a question for you. So he's saying, what should HR do when he or she thinks the employees are more than the production expected?
Well, can you ask the question again?
So let me ask the question again. So what should HR do when he or she thinks the employees are more than the production expected?
Well, first and foremost, HR needs to acknowledge that HR failed, because there's something called employee ratios, and HR needs to know those numbers. So because at that point, it means HR is bleeding money. Let me explain that again. When you need 10 people to make the company successful, or 10 people to optimize efficiency, okay, but you have 20 people, it means that you brought the work rate expected of everyone down. Okay, so you're paying more people than the company is generating, but that means that is an HR failure in the first place, because HR has to predict. HR needs to understand the employee ratios that are necessary to optimize efficiency, and therefore, okay, therefore HR should first and foremost acknowledge that. Now HR should bring in expected business outcomes. Okay, if you work with this company, and let's say Gordon and I were talking about fish farming. Okay, so if you are expected to harvest 200 pieces of fish every Monday and you harvest 100, we are sorry, we can't work with you anymore because your efficiency is low. And then HR needs to start eliminating those people who are not meeting the HR thresholds. That's how it works. So, for example, Gordon, I know you and I were talking about fish farming. Okay, now, if technically, if you know that you have 10 people and you want to sell 100 fish, that's what you've promised the companies, that you want to sell 100, and you expect everybody to produce 10. When you bring 20 people, they'll be producing 5 and expecting to take the efficiency of 10 pay. So they wouldn't be working sufficiently enough. So you come up with a new threshold and say, I need you to produce 15 every week. If you produce less than 15, we can't work with you. And usually, usually what it is that, let me ask a question. And I want to ask you, Mr. Eugene, if you're going to take an exam, okay, and I tell you that the pass mark is 80%, when you get 70%, did I fail you or you fail yourself?
I failed.
You failed yourself, right?
Yes.
So that means HR needs to get into goal setting. You tell the employees when you're hiring them, I'm hiring you and I'm paying you 100,000 Ghana, but I expect you to catch or to produce 10 pieces of fish by Monday every week. If you produce 9, I'm going to fire you. You make it clear, written on paper. So when the person produces 9 and the person doesn't have a tangible reason, you tell the person to leave. So gradually, you will get to a point where you only have the efficient people in the company and the rest will quietly leave. Maybe they are useful in other parts of the world. They're useful in other areas. Maybe they'll go and do animal farming, not fish farming. Maybe they are good at that. So you only keep the most productive ones, and that's how you increase the efficiency, Mr. Gordon.
Great. Thank you. So there's another question from Nana Masetofia.
Yes.
So she wants you to give one example of what HR can say to CEOs and articulate the value to an organization. Just cement what he said.
Okay. Let me play the role of an HR person. Okay. I go to the CEO's office. The CEO is Eugene, Mr. Eugene. And I tell Mr. Eugene, Mr. Eugene, first and foremost, you want to demonstrate that you understand how the company makes business, how the company makes profits. Okay. As a CEO, I was reading our yearly report, and I realized that last year we harvested 20 pieces of fish, but this year we came down to 17. And I'm very sad because I think as an HR person, I should be adding more value to make sure we even go beyond the 20. The mere fact that with the same population, the same employee base, we were able to harvest 20 last year, and this year we only harvested 17, is telling me that something is wrong. Efficiency is down. So, Mr. Eugene, I want to set a goal with you this year. We want to go past 20. Next year, I want to do 30. And to do 30, I'm going to need to train these employees in these areas. And remember, when I train employees in these areas, the efficiency is going to improve by 2.5%. And when that 2.5% happens, it's going to translate to a greater efficiency on the job. I'm going to ask supervisors to monitor people and set new goals for them so that by the end of the year, instead of us producing the 200 pieces of fish that we produced that gave us the average of 17 this year, we are going to produce 270, given the line of sight that I'm showing. And therefore, when that happens, next year we're going to produce 30. Instead of 20 people, we're going to bring the people down to 15 because some people are going to leave and we're going to produce 30. So that's how we're going to add value. Wouldn't the CEO change his mind or her mind?
Yeah.
But it
Oh,
starts with clearly demonstrating that you understand the business. It starts with clearly demonstrating that you understand the marketplace. It starts with clearly demonstrating that you understand how HR impacts the business. So it's not like let's go have coffee, telling and say we are losing people. What should we do? If you go to the CEO and ask the CEO what should we do, the CEO already wants to fire you. The CEO will tell himself, you go and tell the wife at home, and the wife will say, you're still working with these people. So the next day, the CEO, you say good morning, he doesn't want to say good morning because he knows that you are not adding value. So the lady who asked the question, that is how I would go speak with the CEO. You don't go to the CEO and say this needs to change, that needs to change. You want to talk to the CEO, build a relationship, talk to the CEO like a friend. Tell the CEO, this is what I want to do so that we can all be successful. The CEO will always listen to you.
great. That's
Yep.
a good one. So that means we always have to go to the CEO fully prepared with facts.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we'll take a short break, but before we do that, I think we are global today. We have Joseph watching us from Moravia, Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
We also have Michaela watching us from Florida. We
Wow.
have Gordana Dakon watching us from Kumasi. We have Juliet watching us from Cape Coast. We have Ishmael also watching us from Cape Coast. And we have Ebenezer Mensah watching us from Kumasi. So he's saying well done. And we also have Rebecca watching us from Sakumono. And he's giving a kudos to the SEDAT team, myself, and yours truly, Mr. Boham.
Wow.
So take a short break. When we come, then we wrap up.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, we are back. Thanks so much for your patience. So kindly go to the SEDAT Consult social media pages, like and subscribe, and also share this video with any other person, any professional also who would like to benefit from today's session. So, Mr. Boham, I think we have another question in the chat box, which I would like to read to you. So this is from Elizabeth Asari. So she's saying, my company is planning expansions outside Ghana. What value can I, as an HR, make into this strategy as a business partner? Let me take the question again. So my company is planning expansions outside Ghana. What value can I add as HR to? The question is not too clear.
I think I understand it. I'm seeing it on the screen, right?
Okay.
It says my company is planning expansions outside Ghana. What value can I, as an HR, make to this strategy as a business partner?
Yeah.
And first and foremost, I want to thank Elizabeth for the question, because the question that Elizabeth has asked, cements everything I've been talking about today.
Yeah.
Elizabeth's company is expanding. It's expanding outside of Ghana. And she wants to be that HR person who adds value to the strategy in the capacity as a business partner. That's an excellent question. So first and foremost, I said it's important for HR to understand the dynamics of the marketplace. So let's say your country, if let's say your country is expanding into 4 countries, South Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, and Kenya. Okay, you need to understand in your specific domain of business, how does the landscape and business environment operate, the marketplace in South Africa? What is the marketplace like in Kenya? What is the marketplace like in Nigeria? And what is the marketplace like in Algeria? You need to understand the unique dynamics, the cultural differences of the market. Okay, that's number one. Now, you need to look at the constraints and the efficiencies that you can leverage from an HR point of view. What are the constraints? South Africa has fiber optics. Kenya doesn't have fiber optics. Nigeria has fiber optics, but Algeria uses fiber optics that comes through Portugal. What do we need to do to be successful operationally in South Africa? What do we need to do to be successful operationally in Kenya? What do we need to do to be successful in Nigeria? You have to have a team working with you. You have to have an understanding of business. And you don't have to go to business school to get these things. Go to LinkedIn Learning. Okay, go and learn about business dynamics in LinkedIn Learning. Go and learn about some of the. Even if you sit with the people in accounting and finance and ask, how do we make these adjustments? Then you start speaking the language of the business. Now, imagine if Elizabeth goes to the CEO and Elizabeth says, as an HR person, okay, I have looked at the marketplace dynamics in Kenya, the marketplace dynamics in South Africa. I've looked at the operations in all these 4 countries, and I've looked at how the people ratios can impact the business ratios across these 3 domains. Okay, I'm looking at customer intimacy. I'm looking at product leadership. I'm looking at competitiveness. I know MTN is in Kenya. How do we compete with MTN? How do we compete with this company? How do we compete with that company? At the end of the day, that CEO is going to say, wait, no, we need to promote Elizabeth. Because what Elizabeth is saying, she's talking like a CEO. She's not talking like an HR person. She's talking like a CEO who understands HR. And then you help the CEO to also understand what you are doing. So Elizabeth, that and everything that we've talked about today, that's the kind of thing that you do. I hope we answered your question, Elizabeth.
Yes, I hope so. Elizabeth, we want to hear from you if your question has been answered. Okay. So we have another question from Alex. I think this is more like it's different from this session, but I would like to read it out for you to answer. So if I am asked what my achievements are in an interview, what can I say?
Hey, Alex, I think Alex has an interview coming up.
Yeah, I'm sure. He wants to nail it.
Yeah, Alex, what I would say is, you want to articulate, first and foremost, you want to establish to the company that you understand that past experience is the best predictor of future experience. First and foremost, you want to articulate that to them. You want to let them know that, hey, I understand that, let me give an example. A person who was the best player at under 17 and became the best player at under 20 and became a best player in Ghana. When Chelsea is buying that person, they're going to pay that person more than the person who was not the best player at under 17, under 20. So you want to say, when I played in this tournament, XYZ is when I was with this company, this is what I did. That was the standard, and I won these awards. There's an approach that is called the STAR method. Let them know the situation under which you perform those actions. So the situation, okay, the task, the specific tasks that you perform, okay, there's specific actions and activities, the specific tasks that were involved, the actions and activities, but more importantly, you need to also add the results. So in addition to me playing number 10 and dribbling 7 people, I was able to score 10 goals. And that got us the best team of the tournament, and that made me the best player of the tournament. When we went to under 25, these were the things that I did. And you also want to show a line of sight that you are not just, You know what I mean? You want to show
Yeah.
consistent performance over a period of time. When you do that, I mean, remember, if you are the buyer, if you are the company, and a person comes in and tells you, when I was a kid, I won awards here. When I went to SS, I won awards here. When I went to the university, I was taken to Canada to go to a competition and I won. And when I turned 21, I won this award. When I turned 30, I won. They see a continuous line of sight, so they know for sure that you are going to bring value to their company. That question, all that they're asking you from that question is they want to know, based on what you've done in the past, what you can bring to them. We hope we answered your question, Mr.
Yes,
Alex.
yes. Okay. I think Elizabeth has responded that her question was answered. Say, great, Jeff. Thank you very much. And also,
Elizabeth,
happy is enjoying the session.
when I come to Ghana, I want fried rice.
Okay, so Emmanuel Adontin says fantastic exposition on the subject. I'm taking lessons here. That's good to hear. And also great ideas, boss, from Happy and not just upon. Okay. So viewers, if you have questions, you can keep it coming. I think gradually we are wrapping up. And then Mr. Boham, I would like you to give us an advice as professionals, how we can also, I know you've said a lot, but just a line or two to close the session.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Eugene and Mr. George, who nobody sees. He is typically behind the scenes. He's the production guy. He's usually behind the scenes, and I think it's important that we acknowledge him. And I would like to thank everyone for joining us. It is always an honor. For me, one of the things I like to do is I like to give back. Okay, I came to the United States so many years ago, and I like to just give back in terms of, that's what the Indians have done. You have people in India winning contracts in the United States because their relatives teach them. They teach them what they learned. So it's important that we pass on these lessons, and it takes two to tango. So I really want to appreciate and acknowledge everyone who showed up today. I think that everything that we've talked about today really requires a renewal of the mindset. I know people in Ghana, there's one person who's a lawyer. I always tell myself, I'm like, what makes this person different? That person has been consistently, whether doomsaw or whether currency changes, consistently successful in Ghana. And I haven't talked to him, but I know it has something to do with mindset. That person comes to the United States, spends $20,000 with his family and turns around and goes back to Ghana. Why am I saying this? A lot of us think that there's something cursing us in Africa. Okay, we think that there are lots of things. Obviously, there are more constraints. We understand. Okay, but let us hold ourselves accountable. Okay, I know, like this person that I'm talking about, this person lives his life on principles. You have a lot of people in Africa who, when it rains, they won't go to work. But when they come to America and it snows, they go to work. So what changed? It's the same Kwame. It's the same Yao. It's the same Elizabeth. It's the same Barbara we know. What changed? Simply because the person in America will tell you to go home and not come back if you don't show up when it snows. So we have to hold ourselves accountable. And some may think, from what I've said today, that I'm bashing HR, that we haven't really been introspective, that it's important that we in HR challenge ourselves and ask ourselves, all that I'm saying is we have to renew our minds. I think somebody just posted it here. I think Rita Tete said it. A renewal of the mind. That's true. We have to change the way we think. Whether it's Mahama or Adodankwa or Baumia or whoever it is, we don't care. We have to be successful. We work at this bank and we have to be successful. Okay. Look, I know people in Ghana who come to this country and they buy me food because they are being so successful in Ghana. So the point is, let us not make the culture hold us back. Let us believe in ourselves that we can do it. Let us believe we can build businesses. Let us believe that we can change the mindset of our CEOs. Let us believe that we can become successful HR business partners. We don't have to go to a chassis. We don't have to say, I don't have the money to go to the school and nobody's going to sponsor me. Sponsor yourself and go online and read something. Right now, we have ChatGPT who's going to tell you everything. So the point, 1 second. Oh, 1 second, sorry. My friends, hold on, guys. I'm sorry, guys. Let me finish the program. Let me finish. I'm just going to keep you online for a bit. So I'm sorry, guys. All that I'm trying to say to wrap things up. Hold on, let me just cut this off and then join later. I really apologize. You know, what it is that I think we have to change our mindset. And if we don't get anything out of today's presentation that Eugene and I have really put together, I think it's important that we tell ourselves that we're going to do something differently. Just ask yourself, what should I do differently starting today to be that HR person? First, you want to always start in your department as the go-to person. Whenever people need a solution, they should come to you. And then very soon, your department is going to be known. Be known for what you know. But before you become known for what you know, you want to start reading, arming yourself, taking risks. One other thing I want to share with the group is don't be scared of failing your way to success. And that's very important. Let me highlight that. Sometimes the best way to learn something is to make mistakes. You know, don't be scared to have scars on your body. One day when you also buy the best cream, you also become Miss World. What I mean is, make mistakes. You learn from the mistakes. The mistakes themselves will help to build you over time. Okay, and start changing the mindset. Read more about how to become a strategic business partner. Read more about strategy. Read more about HR. What is strategy? Strategy is all about moving us from point A to point B, utilizing various skills and techniques. So HR, from an HR point of view, how do we make that work? So if there's nothing we take out of this, at the end of the day, at the end of today, I want most of us to make a new decision to renew our mindsets, to change the way we do things, and we'll become successful. Just make sure you buy me fried rice when I come to Ghana. Thank you very much.
That's a good one. Sometimes the best way to learn something is to make a mistake. So I think we've exceeded our time. And viewers, if you've made today's session an engaging one, but you brought life to the session today, thanks so much for joining. And also a special thanks goes to Mr. Boham for the valuable insight that you've shared with us. We've picked lessons from it, and then I'm sure going forward as professionals, when we get to our various organizations, we will go and add that value. We won't be the sitting HR, we won't be the HR who go and ask what to do, but rather goes to the boardroom prepared with facts and also contribute to the success of the organization. Thanks so much, everyone. So, as we always do, we will meet here same time next week, but a different topic. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. George, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Eugene, thank you so much.